Hello and welcome back to the Not the Old Firm YouTube channel. My name is Ben Banks and today I've got a particularly special exclusive interview for you with former Motherwell manager Stephen Robinson. It's all changed quite quickly in the past month at Motherwell. This time in December, Stephen Robinson was still in charge of Motherwell and well form. Wasn't all that great. It did look as if he would be the Motherwell manager for the foreseeable future after the great job he's done at Fir Park. But a big shock was to come as he resigned on Hogmanay last year. And now, a few weeks on from that, now the dust has settled a wee bit, he joined me for a chat to look back on his time at Mull, looking through some of the best bits, why he had to leave the club, and different bits and bobs from his time at Fir Park, including different job offers he had and everything in between in this fairly extensive chat. So we hope you do enjoy. I think I interviewed him first in 2018 in the run up to the two cup finals that Mull got to that season. And 3 years on, he's still got the time to let me annoy him one last time to look back on his time at Mull now that he has left Fir Park after almost 4 years in charge. I think most Mull fans would say that he did a very good job at Fir Park overall. But he joins me for one last chat. We hope you do enjoy this one. Do remember to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and until next time, take it easy. Right, well, not the old firm. We've had the pleasure of speaking to many footballers, many managers, but perhaps probably we've not annoyed somebody as much on a regular basis as you, Stephen. So thanks for coming and having a final chat, I suppose, to look back on your time at Mull and everyone that's been. I know we spoke about it a bit off camera, but how has the last couple of weeks been?
Yeah, it's been. Listen, I made a decision. I left with absolutely no animosity with the football club, and very, very good people. But I just felt the time was right for me to move on. I felt I'd done all I could at Motherwell. I didn't think there was anywhere to go with any further. And obviously results hadn't been good enough. And I am my biggest critic, and it was a case of the right time. So I was just taking it easy. Plenty of walks with the dog, and plenty of thinking time, refreshed and ready to go.
I'm assuming you're still in Scotland just now, with the lockdown thing.
Yeah, in just in the apartment. Unfortunately, like everybody else, there's not a lot to do. There's not a whole lot to occupy yourself with. So just watching football, catching up on the world that's outside of football, and giving the family a little bit more time where that's possible.
I'm assuming you've probably not had many days off, sort of nearly 4 years probably at Mull, just with the amount that job entails.
Yeah, I don't think until you sit in a manager's chair, you realise how intense it is. At a club like Motherwell, it's non-stop. You don't have 50 staff members. You do everything yourself. From running the COVID, from making every single decision. We have 4 or 5 top class staff where bigger clubs have 10 times that amount. You see team photographs, and there's more staff than there is players at times. So it's full on. There's not a minute goes by. You think you get home at 8 o'clock at night and the phone rings again, agents on the phone, players on the phone, and you give very little time to the people that actually matter in your life, unfortunately, with football management. So it's, it was a welcome break.
Yeah. Just sort of looking back, have you had much time to sort of reflect on everything? It's only been a few weeks, so it must have been quite a whirlwind for you that we're sitting here sort of a couple of weeks after everyone's happened.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think the job the staff and myself done over that 4-year period. We took the club over when they were in a relegation dogfight. We kept them up. We rebuilt the whole side. We got the 2 cup finals. We developed a load of young players. Jake Hasty, Chris Cadden, David Turnbull. We sold a lot of players. The player sales were 6-7 million. And then we finished third. We got into Europe. So if you look at that, there's so many good things. And a club like Motherwell cannot continue to do that, with the infrastructure and the budget available to spend. That's something that's not sustainable all the time. And you've got to constantly be pushing and rebuilding teams every single year, sometimes rebuilding the teams again in January. It does drain the life out of you in the end. And that was probably my biggest frustration with the whole thing. But and that's not a criticism. That's the parameters I took the job on, and that's not going to change for any Motherwell manager unless there's outside investment. So I look back really fondly on everything. There was tough times, people actually make me laugh sometimes when they say some signings were good, some signings were bad. We're shopping at the bottom of the barrel, so to speak. That we can't pay a lot of money. We don't attract players that are playing football in League One or regular in League Two. We attract boys that don't play in League One and League Two. Tom Walser being a good example. Tom couldn't get a game for Bury in League Two. We take him. He was brilliant for us. He's now, the people that get the big money moves are the ones that get all the attention. But your Peter Hartley's, your Corn McHugh's, your Curtis Means, all those boys moved to bigger and better without a transfer fee. But that was the things I look back on, and I thought we'd done it really, really well. And on the vast majority of signings, a lot of them were very good. Of course, some don't work. That's just football, and especially the level of money we're paying and the level of footballer we're bringing in. Some work, some don't. So, all in all, I look really, really kindly and fondly at some brilliant memories, brilliant people. That's the biggest memory I'll probably take is the people you work with, the staff, the chairman, Jim McMahon, who you couldn't wish in modern football to have a better chairman. The board, Alan as chief executive, you couldn't get people to support you anymore. And that's a rarity, unfortunately, in professional football.
And you've also got a sniper as a groundsman, which is a first for any football club, really.
Listen, the groundsman is top class. I seen the pitch yesterday. It's probably the worst I've ever seen it, which probably helped Motherwell. A little bit as well. But people like Paul, as I say, most clubs have got 20 staff doing their grounds. Paul's got one man helping him. And he does a terrific job, as do people like Karen Patterson, the secretary, who practically runs the football club, and all the people, the chefs and all that. So great people and very, very good memories, and I'll leave and wish nothing but good things for the club and the people around it.
Just really like transfer and stuff, because I was speaking about this as well. Obviously, I know a few people perhaps poked some holes in the recruitment that you did. But at a club like Mull, is it just a thing of you just need to gamble on some people because, as you say, you can't go to the Championship and just go and pluck players like you could maybe 10 years ago?
Right. Every transfer is a gamble. Now, I've heard bigger managers that spent 10 million, 20 million. You see it all the time. Transfers work, some don't for various reasons. At the level that you're recruiting at Motherwell, as I said, there isn't a player who was a regular in League One football in England. Not one player that we recruit that was a regular, because they don't want to come to Scotland. They don't want to come to Motherwell, and we can't pay them the money to come. So, every single transfer is a gamble. What we've done is we took boys with attributes, whether they're very good in the air, they were very quick. And you have to try and make those attributes better. Not once did we ever or were able to sign a finished product. I looked yesterday, and the people Rangers are bringing off the bench in comparison to Motherwell, it's complete night and day. So some work and some don't. And I defy you to find me any football club in the world that's had a transfer record of probably better than 50-50, to be honest with you. And that's millions of pounds spent. So, yeah, listen, if you look at the people we brought in on the vast majority, they were very, very successful. If you look at the people that were sold, the young players that were developed, and then on top of that, the players that I've mentioned, like Tom Waldred, like Corn McHugh, like Peter Hartley, like Curtis Main, your Ben Hennigans, your Maltese, they went for money, but a lot of them didn't go for money, but a lot of them moved on to, I say, bigger clubs and bigger things. They were getting paid more money, a lot more money, life-changing money in India for Peter and Corn. So I'll look favourably on a lot of them. Of course, some didn't work the way you wanted to, and that was for reasons. Some players didn't apply themselves properly. Some people got injured and things didn't work out. Liam Donnelly was somebody that got criticised when he first came to the football club. Big Cedric, we took for absolutely nothing. I remember when he first come, they wanted somebody else. Dembele, I think the boy Dembele we had on trial as well. Everybody wanted him instead of Cedric. So we pay zero for these. We don't pay transfer fees for these people. Trevor Corson was the only person that we paid a transfer fee for, and I think 15 grand, I think that was, so, which is laughable in today's market. So I defy anybody to have a better transfer record than what we had in terms of producing players, developing players, selling players, and not paying any transfer fees. So yeah, I'm very, very proud. And of course you make mistakes and you look back, but I'm not saying any of them. Yeah, there's maybe one or two I would love to have got inside their mind before we signed them. I'd love to have seen their drive, their commitment, because that is a few of them that didn't work. Would have been that reason they wanted to be down south. They didn't really want to come to the football club, and I'll probably learned a lesson this year that boys that didn't want to be here, on paper they look good, but if you didn't want to play for the club, deep down when the going got tough. Then that's probably a lesson I've learned as well. Really want boys that are fully committed, and at times maybe that was a problem. But as I say, all the boys had attributes: pace, strength. Some super talented footballers that needed to maybe be better defensively. Some are very good defensively, needed to be better on the ball. So there was never a finished article, Ben, when we signed players, and it's credit to the staff and the development from Keith, Morris, Hinchy, Andy Bowes in terms of the strength and conditioning and getting to these boys up that level to play for Motherwell and move on.
Yeah, especially this season. I know a lot of managers have said that like the pandemic, just folk don't want to move into like a flat in DL Park basically, and then just go between. I mean, they're looking out their window and seeing the training pitch some days, and then they're
That's been my hardest season. People talk about mental health, but all managers ever do is it's a psychology lesson now. Management's about psychology and how you deal with people. Some people only see the end product on the pitch, but for example, if you take Nathan McGinley, for example, a young boy, quite shy, came up. He's got very good attributes, but he didn't see a single person. He's living in a flat on his own. He's not able to go down south and see his family. You're not able to give days off and travel. The boys aren't allowed to go around his house. You're literally coming in, training 2 hours. You're not allowed to socialise at the football club and going back home again. It's so difficult. And for a manager and the staff, it's difficult because all you ever do is worry about everybody else's well-being, their mental health. But sometimes you got to look in the mirror at yourself and go, sometimes maybe you have to look after yourself. I think John Robertson came out and said something similar recently as well. And yeah, it's been the toughest season I've been involved in. A lot of it's uncontrollable. A lot of it you're not in control of.
Yeah, I know obviously you said last week and stuff about wanting to go down south, but say an opportunity did arise tomorrow, would you want to get back into this season? Because I mean, even next season looks like it's going to be impacted by this. It is just really uncertain times in football.
I mean, I never said I wanted to go down south. I think that was
headline.
Yeah, that was the headline. I think if you read the actual article, I never once said I wanted to go down south. I love Scottish football. I don't think it gets the credit it deserves. I don't think I do. I think the product's very good. I think some decision making at the top level could be a heck of a lot better to help it. But if there's opportunities in England, listen, I'm by no means comfortable in life in terms of money. So yeah, I have to work. So if a job comes up, I would be very careful about what job I take. I'm in a position to choose the right job, hopefully. But obviously Scotland would be not something I would rule out. I live here. I'm based here. England, I've been before. I played all my career there, so I know the ups and the downs on both. But beggars can't be choosers at times, and if the right opportunity comes up, whichever country it is, whether it's abroad, whether it's Scotland, whether it's England, then you have to look at it.
Yeah, I'm not trying to shuffle you out of the country yet. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But when to take you back a wee bit, I think when was it 2014, 2015 when you arrived with Ian Barraclough as assistant?
I think it was 2014, yeah, February. Was it 2014? Yeah, I think it was 2014, February.
Long time ago, 7 years.
It is a long time ago. And that was part of my decision in the end. I think you've got a lifespan as a manager, maybe 3-4 years. And then it becomes a little bit diluted. The reality is people get bored with you. They get bored with the same thing. In life, everybody wants something new. I always use the example of iPhones. My iPhone 10 works up, says again, iPhone X even now it's called. It works perfect, but you want an iPhone 12. So no matter if it does the same thing, and it's very good, everybody wants change. The modern world, everyone wants instant success. They want change. And I think as a manager, you're the same. You need to be motivated to the top level, especially at a club like Motherwell. If you drop anything 1%, 2%, then it's very telling. The same as the players if they drop their percentages. And that was part of my decision. I thought I'd been there a long time. I did think I needed a change to motivate myself again and to reinvigorate yourself again. And I think the club needed a change. That was my honest opinion. I don't think the hierarchy at the club agreed with me. I think at the start when I started speaking, they didn't want me to go. They wanted me to stay, which I can only thank them for. But when I spoke to them, Alan ended up, he was in agreement with me, as was Jim, and I'd say we done it very amicably, which was what I always wanted. I have too much respect for people at the football club to fall out with them. I got brilliant backing over, as you say, nearly 7 years, and we had ups and we had downs. with fights and rows. I think Alan told me there was things online that me and him were best mates. I would like to see you in a room with me and Alan when things aren't going right or I'm not getting my way, but we fought with each other constantly for the benefit of Motherwell Football Club, and that was the way we drove each other. So yeah, a long 7 years, but one I'll look back fondly on.
I know it's easy, like, benefit of hindsight to look back and say stuff like this now, but I mean, to last 7 years at a football club, I doubt even when you arrived as assistant, you could imagine that you would end up 7 years down the line with, I mean, you had the playoff final, even to the cup finals, and just a bit of them in between.
Yeah, it wasn't dull, was it? It
No.
was. It was. Well, certain, and that, I think, somebody said we've been a victim of our own success. I think Jim Goodwin said it to me on the phone, and it was, Motherwell finishing third, getting into Europe, cup finals. It based on what the infrastructure is of the football club, it probably shouldn't happen, and we probably overachieved, and then the expectations rise from myself, from the players, from the fans especially, and everyone thinks that's where you should be, and when it isn't quite there, and it wasn't quite there this season, of course, I'm the first to hold my hands up, then you have to take the stick that comes your way, but if you look back on it, I think people look back on this period as a very successful period for Motherwell Football Club. You'll always have negative people, and unfortunately in football, the negative ones are the ones that make the most noise. I always refer to them as people that don't probably have a lot of friends, and it's the only outlet they have, that they can go on social media and vent their frustration. It used to be you went down the pub and had a pint and spoke about Stephen Robinson's rubbish, or he didn't do very well today, whatever it is. But now it's people put it in writing, and unfortunately, it's the downside of football. I think it's a bit of a scourge of society, to be honest. But I think overall, the good times massively outweigh the bad times and any negativity over them years.
No, I mean, if you were to come to Mull and there to be completely happy times for 7 years, then I would just simply say you were lying, because I don't think that's possible at clubs like Mull, and especially Mull, who aren't short of talking points at the best of times.
No, it's impossible to achieve. If you look at people always slag me off about, he always talks about budgets. He always talks about budgets, but that was to try and keep people's feet on the ground and a reality of the situation. The only football club in the league that doesn't have their own training ground, their own training facility. We're training at DL Park that our media team make look amazing. And I mean, the conditions of the pitch are embarrassing. It's not fit for a professional football team. The area is excellent. It's a brilliant school facility, but that's what it is, a school facility. So the infrastructure, and it's something that Alan and Jim were keen to improve, and I really hope to do that. Was something I fought for a long time. But if you look at it, and we get 4,000 fans, we got the cup finals, we were still finished third in the league. Our home crowds were still only we'd only 4.5 maybe at times home fans. So there's a limit to what you can do, and I had to keep reiterating to people, the budget hasn't changed. It's still exactly the same. We're still able to recruit the same players. We're still able to offer the same money. The crowds have remained the same. We're not suddenly a bigger club. We're not suddenly a third place club in stature. And I had to keep reminding people that. So I took a little bit of stick with that. But it was to keep people's feet on the ground, because human nature is to get carried away, and expectation is the thing that disappoints you most in life, I've found.
Yeah, and I suppose it's a shame that, obviously not a shame in terms of Mull as a whole, but David Turnbull obviously went away, and the money that came with that, if that had came maybe in a couple of seasons before, you'd have maybe been able to build the training ground, maybe bump the wage budget up a bit, I don't know. But because of the pandemic, it's pretty much just being used as a support line to sort of keep the club afloat, really.
Yeah, and listen, I understand it completely. It was never a fight between me and the board about that. It was, listen, that the world's changed in the last year, and obviously if David had went the summer before, we would have had that. The club are desperate to invest in. I'm singing from the same hymn sheet as what Alan and Jim and the board were. We want new facilities. We want to invest in the gym. Can they pay more wages? No, it's not sustainable. And I think when you're manager of Motherwell, you have to accept that if you start over egging the wage bill, the club's already been in trouble previously. It's not sustainable. You don't have 20,000 fans like Hearts. You don't have the amount of money coming in from the Welsh Society as the foundation of Hearts. I'm using that as an example. I think it's around about 100,000 a year the Welsh Society put in. We brought close to nearly 10 million gross in with cup finals and player sales from that. So you've got to put that into perspective of what the club can achieve. And for me, as a club at Motherwell, it's about continuing just building and building and building little bits at a time, putting an infrastructure in place, getting the gym equipment better, trying to develop more and more players, because that is the lifeblood of the football club. As you say, if David's money had come in earlier, maybe, and COVID hadn't happened, then that would have been in place. I've no doubt the club want to do that. And, I think unfortunately another manager will get the benefit of that I probably didn't.
Well, obviously it was a big project to mull over the course. Even if I know you went to Oldham in the middle of this, even the 5 and a bit years you were probably there, you weren't short of speculation, at least, of going elsewhere from Hearts to the local postman job. So sort of what kept you at Mull, if any interest did come to anything?
Yeah, listen, the only job I actually went for an interview for was Northern Ireland, and that was it was a job that I didn't think was the right time to take. I thought it was the right thing to speak to people, because I knew everybody. Out of respect for your country, when they knock on your door, I thought it was a bad time. I thought Michael O'Neill had achieved stuff that again wasn't sustainable with Northern Ireland. And I knew there was going to be transition. So, it's a really, really difficult job. So that was the only interview I actually went for. The speculation about other jobs, in football, I've got one agent that represents me, and it's base soccer. And my agent did not put my name in for the clubs that were linked to me. Unfortunately, other agents did. And I only found that out afterwards by speaking to people like Austin McPhee, who said to me, he doesn't represent me, they don't work for me. And that's the side of football that people don't see, but it makes a headline. And it sells newspapers, and people believe what they read when it's in newspapers or it's on social media. People actually believe it, So I didn't apply for them jobs. My agent didn't speak to those people. Other agents did on their behalf.
How did they get away with that? Because for anybody on the outside, that just sounds mental.
It happens in every walk of football now. With as a manager, I'll get an agent phone me about a player, and you'll go, well, okay, right, fine. You'll take it down the line. You find out a week later that he actually doesn't represent the player. He's just jumped on the bandwagon of the player, and he'll be going to the player's agent. well, look, I'll do a deal with you to be part of this deal, and that's the way it works. People put your name in. I can get Steve Robinson to come and interview for you. I can get Chris Long, Devontae Cole, whoever it may be from Motherwell to you. And that's the way football works. Opportunism, I think the word's called. But as I say, I never done anything without Motherwell's blessing. I was very happy with a European campaign. And the one people or governing body that I spoke to was Northern Ireland.
Yeah. I suppose Graham Alexander's got similar to what you would have had if you went for Northern Ireland, picking up the pieces of an era that perhaps overachieved at times.
Yeah, I spoke to. I know Graham really well, and as I say, I have nothing but best wishes for Graham and the staff and everybody there. I want them to, I'm cheering them on yesterday, 1-0 up, and there's absolutely no bitterness from me. As I say, my son's still there. My family, my youngest son's a mad Motherwell fan. He loves them as well. Everybody watches it still, so that's not going to change no matter what. You can't take all that, the bonds you built up with the football club and the people away. But Graham, and I spoke to Graham and I told him the parameters, and I told him the problems that he would face, and not to go in and think that, you didn't have to sell players every time we put a team together. It gets broken up. We built walls every year. And I defy any manager to build as many teams during a season, change your style during a season because of the players available, and reinvent yourself that many times every season and lose. We were losing up to 13 players. And people said this season, we had a really, really good squad. That was all the vibes coming out. But actually, I looked at the Hibs game early on in the season. We had 8 people that didn't play on a regular basis or weren't involved at all from the third place finish. Trevor Carson was missing. We had 3 people out of the back 4 that were completely new. We had Liam Donnelly missing out in midfield. We had the front 3 completely different. So, we'd Lang and Jordan White. I can't remember. I think it was Seedorf, but, Sherwin played a minimal amount in that third place finish. So we had 8, 9 people different. So again, although we finished third and people thought we'd built on that, it was a complete change, complete new team, complete new players, and players underperformed and things didn't quite go right. So I made Graham aware of that, but I also sold the club to him. I think he said that in his press. I said it was a brilliant football club. You're allowed to run the football club from top to bottom. That is massive in football. You make every decision. Nobody gets in your way. Nobody tells you who to sign, who not to sign. You get given a budget, and you deal with that, and you work it whatever way you possibly can. If you want to pay somebody $8,000 a week, then the rest of them are going to be on £100. That's the reality of it. You're not getting any more, and the club back you as much as they can. If they get money in, they give it to you. And that is rare. That sounds, for non-football people who are not in the background of it, that sounds, well, that should happen. It doesn't happen at every football club. I told them the staff were excellent. I told them he had a really good base of players who were underperforming, and some that had their head turned elsewhere that he would probably need to deal with. So I was as honest as I possibly could. I sold Scottish football to him because Graham wasn't that aware of Scottish football. Obviously he played for Scotland, but he wasn't aware of the Scottish game and the parameters of it. And, I couldn't have sold Motherwell or Scotland any higher to him, and I'd have done the same with any person that would have applied for that job.
Apparently, according to him in his first presser, he said he also made them be aware of the media. So I took offence to that and stormed out the room after that.
I said to him, keep the media on your side. It's I don't think when people come up from England, they don't realise how excessive it is up here. There's if you're a Fleetwood manager as Graham was, or the Salford manager, you get the Salford Times, or you get a local paper in Fleetwood. Here it's every national newspaper. So you got to be very careful, and you got to watch your words because they get twisted very, very quickly.
People like me are nasty, but
no, you're okay, Ben. You're one of the good ones.
So you say, but no, obviously you're talking about the Rangers. I know this will be out maybe a week or so after the Rangers game, but goal line text getting brought in for the League Cup semis and VAR a possibility. So I mean, they could have been doing with that yesterday.
From the angle I seen it from, it didn't look offside. To be fair, it was. I know Graham came out and said it, so no doubt Ross and Flo had copies of it somewhere from a different angle. But listen, in truth, that's probably how it's went for Motherwell this season. The small margins that when your football matches have gone against everybody, and maybe that was another small margin, but listen, it was a good result and a decent result against St Mirren. I have no doubt with the calibre of player that are there and what's coming back again. Liam Donnelly was someone that was irreplaceable. Jake Carroll was somebody we thought we'd be back in August, and those positions caused us huge problems. We had players that come in late, with players like Chris Long and Devontae Cole that weren't fit enough and picked up injuries. And people just weren't playing on the top of their game. And I think when they come back and starting to come back to form and fitness and game time, I think Motherwell will be fine.
Right. This is going to be muted on the bottom, right? So you're not going to be hearing any of the video, but some video clips are going to flash up of your time at Mull. Some good, some bad, some perhaps mixed emotions. So I believe James will start to play them now. I believe this is the first one coming up. So I will just go through them and we'll see what you're thinking. Now, I don't know if you remember that, but obviously Hapoel Beersheba.
I thought it was. I was trying to look at it on my screen, yeah.
But obviously that was probably one of the bigger moments for you. I mean, leading Mull out in Israel just sounds a bit bonkers.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. Obviously the biggest disappointment was no fans. That was the thing. We waited so long to get into Europe, and then you couldn't take any fans with you. And we had 2 games against Northern Irish teams, which would have been really brilliant atmospheres. Glentoran and Coleraine would have maybe brought 2,000 and 3,000 there. Motherwell fans would have got back and forward. So, but that Beersheba game was probably our biggest frustration because we played so well. We had a couple of half chances. And they had a player there who was exceptional, but we kept them really quiet.
Portuguese guy, was it?
Yeah, I can't remember his name now, but he was top. I think he was Spanish actually. He was top class, and we managed to nullify him a lot. And we were so in the game, in fine lines again. We conceded a goal from a free kick just on half time with really poor marking from one of the most experienced players in the team. So it was frustration and disappointment, but it was a brilliant experience. Something I certainly want more of.
Yes. Now move on to the next one. On top of that game, what were your sort of thoughts when that hit the bar?
It's actually funny. That's the second cup final. The first cup final, I really thought we got a right chance here. We really nullified them, and then obviously Cedric got sent off, and it changed the whole game. We went up the other end, and Multi should have had a penalty. So we never had anything go our way. But the whole occasion of that, when that hit the crossbar, I just thought this isn't going to happen today. It just isn't going to happen. We lacked belief in the first half of that game. in the first cup final, we really believed that, the boys really believed they were going to win. In that first half, well, I thought we sat back and played with a little bit of fear, and it took until the second half until we reminded them how good a team they were. And when Biggie hit the crossbar, you just thought, right, it's not going to be our day. But the whole occasion of that, and the atmosphere and the build up to it, we went to Trump Turnberry, and it was a fantastic occasion. One that stay long in the memory. And the semi-finals were probably better memories because we won them, and the feelings afterwards. The cup final was afterwards was a wee bit of a low, obviously after losing.
Yeah. Better no mention going to Trump Turnberry in recent times, to be fair.
Yeah, aye. Yeah, it was a lovely hotel, to be fair.
Well, aye. But better than, hopefully, some politicians on the other side of the world. But if you roll the next one. I'm assuming you're probably quite concerned by the fact the snake clip.
Aye. Oh, I know what that is then.
Right, there's so many questions. Who did that?
We pud the groundsman at DL, so we used to wind them up about stealing all our balls. So he pretended there was a ball, and that's in his dressing room. That's in their dressing room. So we went in, and Stephen and Pud, the two groundsmen, had obviously set me up, but I screamed like a wee girl. It was that was ages ago. So I wouldn't let them put it out at that stage, but I think Pud decided he was just going to put it out everywhere and let everybody see what a big girl I was. So I hate snakes. I absolutely despise them. So it was good. They got me, I have to say. You have to hold your hands.
The more questions I had about that was what was a slow cooker doing in there? What was the bottle of whiskey next to it?
That was their changing room, not the players' changing room. I can assure you. The way the lines on the pitches were, sometimes I think they were drinking that whiskey in there half the time before they were doing it.
You better not say that. He'll be right round. He'll have that sniper through your roof any minute.
No, it was funny, to be fair. It was funny. I can laugh every now and again away from camera.
Amazing. Anyway, right, next one, James. Aye, that was the game against 2-1. Now, I don't know if, for me, that game was fairly big in your reign, because I think at that time fans weren't too happy about things going on, and that game seemed to spark that run in 2019, I believe, that obviously I think third biggest points tally outside of Celtic and Rangers.
Aye. It was Tom Waldred scoring, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, are fans ever happy? Let's be honest. But yeah, we were on a poor run, and it was a case of we needed to get to Christmas, and we had to win that game, and it was an important game. And it was, people like Tom Waldred, real men, real warriors of the game. Do you know what I mean? And you can see the celebrations afterwards and how good it was, and it set us on our way. So yeah, it was you remember certain times that are pivotal moments in your management career, and that was one of them. To beat Hamilton. I think we had a massive crowd behind the goal that day as well, and that was fantastic. It was a really good occasion, and it allowed us a wee bit of time. Then we went away. We went to Tenerife for 2 weeks, and we were able to. We knew what we wanted to do. We knew we wanted the young players in. We wanted David in. We wanted Jake Hasty at the time in. We wanted to get Bowley Arabi there. We wanted to go 4-3-3. But people think you click your fingers and that just happens. It was a development stage for the young players that weren't ready. David wasn't quite ready. Jake Hasty was on loan. Bowley, we had to wait and get. So it was a case of that we needed that game to get a little bit of the feel good and a little bit of patience back again. And then, obviously the run we went on after that and continued that into the following season. And we had to build a team again. People said, the whole year was that, but it was a complete new team that continued that run. So yeah, any game against Hamilton was obviously a big game for us. And we had some really, really good victories against them. Some poor results as well at times, which were harder to take. But yeah, good memories, that one.
Yeah, that team was probably fair to say that was probably the strongest team you had at that time, looking back. And when you had, I know the fans used to say about like David Turnbull, Jake Hasty went through a real purple patch, Alan Campbell just being Alan Campbell.
Yeah, I think that they relate their Motherwell through and through. So fans want to see their own. They're always more forgiving with their own. And when the three of them were playing well, it was great. They were very, very good. And people spoke a lot about David Bowley. Arabi was a terrific signing for us. Absolutely brilliant. He scored the life out of people. Again, there's another player. We resurrected his career. He's gone. He's on life-changing money. Rolando Aarons couldn't get a game, was in and out at Wickham, came to us, boom, he goes now and he's at Huddersfield, I believe. So people only see the ones that went for money. They don't see the other things that were done in the background. And that was a really exciting team in the way we wanted to play football. And I say we went away and worked on certain things. You can only, as a manager, I believe you can only play a certain way if you've got the players. You've got big, strong boys. You've got to play to their strengths. If you've got, skillful, quick, wide players, you play to their strengths. And that's what we managed to recruit, and that's what we wanted to go with. And we continued to do that. We were able to re-recruit again. James Scott came to the force. We were able to play 4-3-3. We signed Chris Long. Who else played out wide? We had Sherwin and Jermaine and Devontae, who were in and out for that third place finish as well. So it was good. It set us up along our way. And as I say, when them three were playing well, the fans relate to them. They're their own. They come through, and there's more of an affiliation towards the team when it's your own boys coming through. What one is it? Me getting sent off or something?
Well, I think so. If it can keep playing its way through.
Oh yeah, I remember it.
What actually gets said there? Because it seemed to just be bickering, and then you just get sent off. Because obviously, I wasn't obviously involved in media then. I think I was still at 14 or 15 then. But Pedro Caixinha, obviously, I don't think he spoke great English. So I was thinking, a strong Northern Irish accent and somebody that doesn't speak much English, I can imagine that probably went one of two ways.
Yeah, there wasn't actually a lot said. Obviously, we were winning at the time, and I wasn't too stressed at the time. Pedro was obviously got a bit stressed, and there wasn't a whole lot said. There wasn't actually a whole lot said. The fourth official called the referee over. Was it Stephen McLean? Was it? I think it was. And got a red card. And I thought, oh, brilliant, just my luck. We'll go and win this and miss the final. And then we scored. Obviously, I think Multi scored the second goal, didn't he? And I was in the stand.
Yeah.
So
I think there might be something on that at the end of this if it wants to keep starting through. You don't look like you know what you're doing here. You just look dead confused.
Well, the protocol was when you got sent off, you were meant to go all the way out and all the way around, but I just climbed through the boxes and up through them boxes. So that was when I was a wee bit fiery and feisty. I've calmed down now, so I don't get sent off anymore because I think I've got a 10-game ban hanging over me. So when that goal went in, what a feeling that was. That was probably one of the best memories. And it was someone you won't forget again. And players like Multi, when you got somebody like Louis Malt in your team, what I'd have given for a Louis Malt this year, because the amount of chances we created and didn't take, we'd have probably been in the top four with the amount of stuff we created. And that's what happens. You develop players like Multi, you sell them for big money, and you've got to try and replace them again. And that just Multi didn't do a whole lot in the game, and then bang, 2 goals, and that finish was incredible. Rounds them off, top finisher. And the feeling is that it seemed like an eternity while it was in the air to hit the net. The same with Curtis Main's one when he went through in the other semi. But as that was in the air, just please go in, and then it's just relief.
I can see
that was Scott Leach. Yeah, Scotty was up there with me. I think Bob was escorting me around the place with walkie-talkies and all that there. So I just looked down at Laz. Laz was on the bench, and it was just, it was a brilliant feeling. One that'll live long in the memory.
And did you think, see when he's going to hit that, did you want him to hit it? Because it wasn't exactly on the edge of the box. It looked about 35 yards out.
No, I was thinking just carry out Multi, but with Multi's ability, and he just has this knack for goals. He is a God-given knack to score football matches, and what a finish. Even the first one, he's there, right place, right time. And that's what you get when you pay the money that you do to get Louis Malt, and unfortunately somebody else has got the benefit of that now. But yeah, fantastic finish, one of the best goals, probably out throughout my reign. I think that's that one you'll remember, and probably Curtis Main's finish in the semi-final. Elliot Freer's one against Kilmarnock to keep us up is one I remember because it was just sheer relief. But that was sheer joy, and the celebrations afterwards were very good. We enjoyed that night.
I can imagine you did. That's the end of our staggering video clips that seem to take.
I'm sure they'll run better when you play it.
I'm hoping so. But I just on a whole, I know it's a pretty big question that you can't possibly answer. But how do you remember your time at Motherwell?
With great pride. Worked and 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 work with some brilliant people. That is probably my biggest memory. Motherwell's a unique football club, a special football club with special people, and then people make the football club. They live and die for the football club. I had the privilege of working with some very talented players and development players. Probably my proudest thing is developing young players. It's probably what I take most pride in. I remember Michael O'Neill saying to me, young players appreciate everything so much more. It's the problem is when they get older and think they've made it, and they forget actually who was very good to them and who developed them, and keep their feet in the ground. And I think the young boys we develop will do. They'll stay grounded, but that was probably the biggest thing. I think the players we developed, and the success that we had. As I say, I think people look back and go, it was a very successful period for Motherwell. But I look back in great pride, and the biggest thing is the people I work with, the staff I work with, and the people around the football club were just top class, good people.